In the last video, we talked about Arkansas. Now we're going to talk about the province of Quebec. Quebec is a very unique and special place to live. But it's not for everybody. It can be a great place to live for some, but for others, it won't be the right choice. So what we're going to do in this video is I'm going to give you 5 things that you should really know before you even consider moving to Quebec. The first thing you need to be aware about is the language. Quebec is a French-speaking province, and there are very few places you can go in Quebec where French will not be present. This is by no means a bad thing. It just means that anyone planning on moving to Quebec should be prepared to learn some French. There are some areas of the province where you can get by without knowing any French, but it is really beneficial to be able to communicate like just some basic French. The areas that you could get by without any French are places in the West Island of Montreal, like Kirkland, Beaconsfield, Pointe Claire, Dorval. These are all towns that are close to the city of Montreal that have a higher percentage of English-speaking residents. But again, most of these English-speaking residents are bilingual and do know French, so it is really, really beneficial to learning some of the French language just to make your time in Quebec a little bit easier. The second thing you need to know about Quebec is that the cost of living is high. But we're in Canada, the cost of living is high everywhere. In Quebec, it is certainly on the rise, but there are some areas of the province that will leave you better off than others. For example, if you're thinking of moving to Montreal, which is when people move to Quebec, most people end up in Montreal. It's a metropolitan area, it makes sense. But you gotta prepare yourself for the fact that housing is extremely expensive and that many people will be shocked to find out what the price of a home or a condo is in the city, as well just on the island of Montreal in general. It's pretty pricey. In recent years, many people have been leaving the city and moving slightly off the island to the towns that surround the island because housing is more affordable and you gain more space. Off-island prices have gone up in the recent years. They have. There's just more demand for more space, bigger properties, but it's still significantly cheaper to live off the island than it is to live on the island. But if you're not forced to move to the Montreal area, there are plenty of other really, really good places to live in the province that have big city-like amenities, so all the stores you need and restaurants, stuff like that. But you're not paying the big city price. Places like Sherbrooke, Quebec City, Gatineau, Drummondville all have city-like amenities. Well, some of them are actually real cities, but they do have a much lower cost of living than Montreal. The third thing you want to know before moving to Quebec is that Quebec uses civil law. Quebec is notorious for being different from the rest of Canada. It's a good part of the reason why Quebec gets a lot of hate and why many people from different provinces, well, they don't particularly like Quebec. It's something you'll learn once you move to Quebec, or maybe you already know it. 12 out of the 13 provinces in Canada practice and enforce common law, but Quebec, on the other hand, practices civil law. It's a whole thing about the French, and it's a French thing to use civil law. It's how they did it in Europe, and there's a long story, but it doesn't matter. This does lead to many slight differences, though. In general, it's only going to have a small impact on your day-to-day life, and some people, honestly, they probably live in Quebec and they have no idea that Quebec even uses different law. To break it down, lawyers follow different standards. Things like marriage and divorce are treated differently from a legal standpoint, but in all honesty, it's really not a big deal. It's something that you might want to just be aware of and know, so that it doesn't surprise you if you're let's say going to be a lawyer or whatever. The fourth thing you want to know before moving to Quebec is that the province itself is a great place to explore. Quebec is the second biggest province/territory by area, making it a really good place to explore with lots of different places you can go. There are so many great small towns to visit. I myself have been to pretty much every single corner of Quebec. Every region that you can go in Quebec, I've pretty much been. And you would be really surprised at how different and unique some places are. At times, you feel like you're in a completely different province, and really you're only 6-7 hours away from where you live or where you were just coming from. Here are some of the places I recommend visiting. Some pretty obvious ones here. Quebec City. It's the capital. It's probably the most historic city we have in Quebec. It's like a small piece of Europe and Canada. There's so much history. It's really cool. Second place I'd recommend would be the Saguenay-Lac-Saint-Jean region. It's about 2 hours north of Quebec City, 5 hours from Montreal. It's a very interesting place. You will need to know some French to get around Saguenay, because there's English is almost non-existent up there. Third place I'd recommend would be the BTB region, home to places like Val d'Or, Noranda. This region is really a hidden gem. Although it is a 6 to 7 hour drive north of Montreal, it's definitely worth the trip. Driving into Val d'Or and seeing all the gold mines, it's a really cool sight, and it's one of my favorite places to visit in the province. Lastly, the Gaspésie region. It's a gorgeous region of the province that has a really, really nice coastline, and it attracts a lot of tourists in the summer. I would suggest visiting these places in the summer unless you're a real outdoorsy winter person. Otherwise, it's going to be really snowy, really cold. So I'd definitely say visit these places in the summer. Here's the fifth and final thing you need to know before moving to Quebec. The rest of Canada is probably not going to like you. Well, I mean, it's a joke, obviously, but then again, it's kind of not. You'll only really get what I'm saying once you finally move and live in Quebec for some time. People from other provinces kind of have a lot of things to say about the province of Quebec. But it doesn't matter, though. I'm just joking. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think. Offer your advice to anyone moving to Quebec or thinking about moving to Quebec in the comments. And we'll see you in the next video.